What's going on, Nerd Nation? Welcome to another episode of the weekly Comic Book Nerd Nation podcast. I'm Fox2, and I'm here with Pirate.
Hold on, Johnson.
That was special. We're here with Topher.
Hey.
And the whole mother effing Brian.
You're no good to me, dead.
Okay, that's a very special helmet you've got on there. Got the Boba Fett helmet. That's nice, good stuff. So,
I ride the short ship to school.
You ride the short ship. That sounds about right, actually, at this point.
My mom gave me a candy bar one time, and I was all like, "Hey, hey."
Well, let's start with you, Brian. What comic books you been reading this week?
This week I picked up. I guess my favorite issue this week was the last issue of Superior Spider-Man and the whole Superior Venom story arc, where we get to see Peter Parker, the ghost of Peter Parker, rip off the Venom symbiote from his body that was taken over by Doc Ock.
Is this the final Superior Spider-Man leading into the first Spectacular?
No, the final one is coming out in March. I think it ends with 30 or 31, but this was the final issue in the story arc for the Superior Venom story.
Okay, so I have to say this before I forget. I was online playing. This is particularly related to Spider-Man. So I was online playing some Call of Duty yesterday, and some of the younger guys that watch the podcast were playing with us, and one of them, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, they were seriously asking me this question. They wanted to know if it was true because they read somewhere that Peter Parker had sex with Mary Jane and killed her with his radioactive sperm.
I think there was a story, a separate story written called Spider-Man the Other or something like that, where it was a whole different. It had nothing to do with the continuity. It was just different, and I think that actually happened.
It's like a he killed her with his radioactive sperm.
I think so.
There's a legitimate possibility that this happened. If anybody that's watching this knows whether or not that happened, definitely fill us in the comments section. So Brian, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead, back to what you were.
But there's a lot of, because Superior Spider-Man is ending and Peter Parker is coming back into his own body, this issue at the end had the Avengers, and Iron Man had some kind of secret data on Peter, on Doc Ock Peter, and he was talking to the other Avengers, and he's like, someone deleted the original data, and they find out from security footage that it was Peter. So everything's starting to culminate. Yeah, culminate. I don't have good grammar in space. But everything's starting to tie in to people finding out that something's up with, Spider-Man, and he's not himself. So it's starting to come to a close. We're finally getting Peter Parker back soon. I'm excited.
I think there's a lot of people that are excited about that.
I mean, I read the beginning of Superior Spider-Man when they first, eliminated Peter, and I didn't like it. I don't
know how you can. That's like doing Superman without Clark Kent.
Yeah, I mean, his life started. Spider-Man and Peter Parker. If you ever read the comics for a while, he didn't really have a great life. I mean, people hated him. He was a loner. He never had a steady job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as things got closer, maybe 2 years ago, they started giving him the up and up with everything. People liked him. He was an Avenger. But then they killed him off, and Doc Ock took over his body and started ruining everything. And I'm like, Dog, why do you keep on shitting on Peter Parker for?
I read something somewhere, and it was an interview with, I can't remember if it was an interview with Stan Lee. I think it was something like a documentary on Stan Lee. But anyway, it was like they were talking about like part of what made Spider-Man such a popular book and such a popular character early on from the early Spider-Man days was the fact that he was like one of the very first superheroes that had real world problems. Like you were talking about, like
15-year-old kid
so,
when he started out, and he was bullied, and he was almost like legit to like closer to what somebody could go through.
Right. You can more easily identifiable.
Exactly.
You can really get what he's going through or whatever. So, Topher, what are you reading this week?
I've actually been reading some New 52 Batman. Been reading Night of the Owls, and I picked up the crossover book that actually has DC's been doing like separate volumes for each of their characters, like of the main series. But then, at least with the Batman stories, a lot of them have tie-ins across all the different Batman characters: Nightwing, Robin, Red Hood, Batgirl,
Red Riding Hood.
Right.
The Big Bad Wolf.
So Night of the Owls is basically a tie-in to Batman's first story arc in New 52, where he finds out that there's this clandestine court of owls that's like this secret hidden society of aristocracy in Gotham that's kind of been secretly running things behind the scenes for a number of years, and they've decided that now is the time to make their resurgence, and they send out all these basically half undead assassins called Talons that go, and they send them out to to go assassinate a bunch of public figures around Gotham, and so the Night of the Owls crossover book is basically all the titles in the Bat family that all deal with with all the members of the Bat family going to try and stop these Talons from assassinating all these leaders of Gotham, and it's been pretty good so far. In fact, the favorite one of mine so far has actually been Batgirl. I kind of liked Batgirl as a character way back when, but she's bounced around a lot. The original Barbara Gordon got shot in The Killing Joke and was paralyzed, and later became Oracle years ago. But they've kind of undone that with New 52, and so now you've got Barbara Gordon has finally regained the use of her legs and become Batgirl again, and she's kind of fighting her way again, trying to navigate being a superhero again. And
are these all like separate issues, or is this like in a trade paperback that has like all the different?
Well, I actually picked it up a trade paperback.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the collected version, Night of the Owls.
Nice.
But it's basically like full issues of there's Nightwing, a couple issues of Nightwing in here, a couple issues of Batgirl, a couple issues of Batman. Basically just showing what each of them is doing in their own series during this crossover event.
I'll give you two guesses who's going to want to read that when you're done.
John and Brian.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But then so I actually picked up. I actually enjoyed the couple issues of Batgirl in there so much that I went back and picked it up, and I've been reading the Batgirl series as well.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually really good. It's Gail Simone writes it. She's she's been around for a little while, done a few things, but I have to say it's actually one of the best written female characters I've read in a long time. A lot of times you have random female characters in there that are just there to move plot along or to die or get stuffed in a refrigerator or something, or somebody who doesn't who can't write dialogue very well. But she's actually a really well written character, and I've actually been really enjoying it.
I've heard really good things about the New 52 Wonder Woman series. I've heard that was really, really well written and has some fantastic artwork as well. I haven't read any of them personally, but I just heard from somebody else that was a good read. So, Pirate, what are you looking at this week?
I stepped out of some new well, the new stuff that I've read, a lot of the Marvel Now. I read the Thor 1, and I hated it. Like, flat out, I didn't like anything about it. So I just got out a whole new stuff for this week. I actually read Batman Haunted Knight, and it's by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sales, I believe, is the artist. It's mid-90s. It's got some good stuff and some bad stuff in it. It's basically, it starts off with Batman chasing Scarecrow around, and he captures Scarecrow, and then Poison Ivy comes in. But towards the end of the book, it becomes like a Christmas Carol. Like he's visited by an old ghost. His dad's one ghost, Poison Ivy's another ghost, Joker's a ghost, and finally he's visited by death, and it becomes this whole thing of like all his money shouldn't be invested into fighting crime, and and by the end of it, he gets up with Lucius Fox, and actually it's where they spawn the Wayne Foundation in the comics.
What series is this?
It's just a trade paperback. It wasn't ran in any issues or anything like that.
So it's like a standalone?
What's it called, though?
It's called Haunted Night, and it's actually the prequel of The Long Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Jeff Loeb, and Jeff Loeb actually wrote in Scarecrow was the first time when he did his take on the Scarecrow was Scarecrow ran around and said everything in nursery rhymes, and I guess insinuated the fact that it dates back. I guess they explained it in Long Halloween with him killing his grandmother when he was a teenager. Jonathan Crane killed his grandmother as a teenager, and that's where the nursery rhyme comes from. And then it also has the Mad Hatter in it and explains a lot of why Bruce Wayne, when he was a kid, the night that his father and mother was killed, she was reading Alice in Wonderland to him, and that's why the Mad Hatter had such an impact on him as a villain. And then there was a lot of other things that talked about, there was a lot of subtle things like the Mask of Zorro. That was his Halloween costume that he made as a kid, and his dad was obviously not there to take him trick or treating. And it's kind of cool, like how they have a lot of flashbacks with it. It ties in a lot of things that happen in canon and stuff. But there was a lot of things I didn't like about it too. Like, I mean, it was such a quick read. I mean, it was like the whole book. I mean, which is it's a pretty good sized book. I probably did it in like an hour for a trade paperback, which usually I try to space it out a little longer. But there was a lot of panels that didn't make sense. They weren't done in like, I guess, like you'd go from one panel to another and be like, how the hell did that just even happen? So there's some good things. Yeah, it was really, it was. I think, and that's because it was such a fast read. It just skipped through so many segments. Like if there was a director's edit, then it might make a lot more sense. But the story that you take from it is pretty cool. The Christmas Carol aspect I thought was kind of lame. But it was pretty cool, the outcome, and especially with stuff that's happened in Ark and stuff. So it's not bad. But that's what I've been reading this week, and mostly. And then the new Avengers World, I think it is. I read issue 1 of that. It was okay. It wasn't really like the Marvel Now stuff is just seeming like they're just really trying hard.
To me, they're lacking on story. That's why I've been reading a lot of DC 52.
Yeah.
So this week, I first of all, Brian, we can hear you like scratching around at your face or whatever. That's pretty loud. But anyway.
Hey, Fox, I didn't want to interrupt before when everybody was telling what they were reading, but as far as the Spider-Man killing Mary Jane story, we've got the lowdown on that if you want it.
Yeah, let's have that first.
It was basically like it was a limited series kind of future timeline sort of thing where way in the future, Spider-Man's old and grown and Mary Jane's long dead, and he comes back to New York and finds the city like very different, like 30 years in the future or something. And
please tell me he doesn't have sex with her dead body.
No. He doesn't have sex with her dead body, but like he keeps seeing like visions of her basically. And throughout the comic, he comes to realize that it was a series called Spider-Man Reign, Reign, and he comes to realize, because she died of cancer in the comics, and he comes to realize basically that that it was his fault that she died because his entire body was radioactive. And he basically has this little monologue where he says something about like my blood is radioactive, every fluid in my body is radioactive, her being with me, loving me all these years is what like brought on the cancer and basically killed her. So like they don't come right out and say, hey, I shot
I
radioactive
see.
cum on her face, and she drowned in it.
The money shot.
But,
Always about the money shot.
But it's pretty much assumed that she died of cancer after years of exposure to all of his radioactive bodily fluids.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I mean,
Okay.
so
they don't
yes,
come right.
that
They don't come right.
they don't
out
come
and
right
say
out and
it.
specifically say that, but that's basically
It
what
can be
happened.
It can
It
be
was
inferred.
really a golden shower that killed her.
So this week I've been reading. I haven't read most of the books that I picked up this week. Actually, I read Marvel. I think it's called Marvel Knights Hulk. It's a 4-run series. This was the second issue. It's a pretty good story. I don't know how I feel about it, even as a Hulk fan. It's kind of neat. The last issue, excuse me, this issue ended with basically like a giant sized Hulk, like 50 feet tall, basically.
Like a Godzilla
is where he's at. Yeah, like huge Hulk. Because he was like, Bruce Banner was not able to turn into the Hulk because he has amnesia, and so people were trying to induce him into the Hulk state and try and control him through some. I can't even remember. It's like I said, I kind of read it really quickly because I was more excited about the other stuff that I was reading this week, which was a lot of like book type stuff, graphic novel, trade paperback type of stuff. I read The Killing Joke. I had not read it yet. I know that's probably everybody. Oh my God, how come you have not read that yet? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Alan Moore is an amazing writer. Just the Joker in that book is incredible. I don't want to get too in depth into it because I'm sure that's one of those pivotal books that we'll probably dedicate almost an entire episode to sometime down the road, whenever we want. But it was incredible. If you haven't read it, like I hadn't, definitely borrow it from a friend, buy it. It's worth purchasing for sure. I'll probably pick it up just to add to my collection so that I can read it again and again. Another thing that I read this week, which is another like huge book that everybody talks about that I had not read, was The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, and that was stellar. I didn't care for a lot of the artwork. Who is the artist in that?
Klaus Jensen.
Klaus Jensen.
Frank Miller was the writer, wasn't
Yeah.
he? He didn't do any of the artwork.
No,
No, he was
Oh,
the
wow.
writer. Klaus Jensen was the artist.
Yeah, it's a good book. There's just some panels that are drawn in such a fashion that you can't really, even knowing what the story is, you look at the panel and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, what? That doesn't look like a car at all, like in any sense of the word car. So it's, that aside, like there were some panels that were drawn magnificently and I loved them. But the story of it and the way that it was written was just completely overshadowed the whole fact that the art wasn't anything that I really cared about so much. But the book, overall was incredible. I don't want to get too much into what happens because I know Topher's just about to read it soon. So maybe that could be another one that we could cover down the road if people have questions or whatever. And then right now I'm reading, actually I have it sitting right here. I was reading it right before we started. Borrowed this from Pirate, Deadpool, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I'm not a huge Deadpool person. I don't know much about Deadpool. But I'm enjoying it. It's not, I wouldn't put it in the same league as the other two books that I read by any stretch of the imagination, but it's intriguing, I guess is where I would put it. Like the Deadpool character, to me, at least right now, because I don't know much about him, is very puzzling. But I think he's meant to be kind of like that because he's so like scatterbrained and multi-personalities and, just you never really know exactly what's going to happen so far. So that being said, that's what I've been reading. We have to touch on news. Comic book news this week is tons of stuff. I know He's taking the helmet off for this. I'm going to jump right over to Brian.
Walter Cronkite news here.
It's getting hot
been
in there.
chomping at the bit to talk about the stuff that has happened this week. So Brian, give us a little bit. Everybody else, feel free to chime in. Let's make a roundtable discussion out of this.
With Brian Rooney on 60 Minutes.
Pew pew. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but last night, depending on when this comes out, Friday night, it was all over the place that Superman and Batman was now pushed to 2016.
The movie.
The movie, yes.
Right.
So now that's being said, well, they're saying that, Ben Affleck hurt his leg, but people are also saying that maybe they didn't realize the scale of the movie they were trying to make, introducing all these characters within the movie.
Yeah,
as well as
they've got
just
Lex Luthor in there as well, right?
Luthor. They're saying that maybe Aquaman, maybe Doomsday as another villain.
Wow.
Maybe The Flash, Wonder Woman was cast. You also have Batman, and when the movie was first being talked about, they said something about a Nightwing character in there too.
So they basically scrapped the whole idea of Superman versus Batman and just started making Justice League.
Exactly. And they just tried shoving everything into one movie that's titled Superman versus Batman.
I would really like to see them bring in Harley Quinn into the movie, even if it's just
I don't see that. I don't want to see that for a while until they introduce a sound like Joker character, because the problem with Harley Quinn is you're going to have to introduce Joker first as a dominant character, and then Harley Quinn has to follow.
Well, it depends.
And usually
every time they've introduced the
Joker. Yeah, but every time they've introduced the Joker, it's always been his own self because he has some grand scheme of things, and you can't do Harley Quinn and Joker, I don't think, in a movie together, because there's too much you have to establish with Joker, and there's too much back you have to establish with Harley Quinn, and it wouldn't be a movie, especially in this grand with all the characters. I don't think they could do it.
I would love to see a Harley Quinn, character in film, but I mean, she's a Batman villain, and she's kind of an associate of the Joker, so it would be really hard to introduce her in a movie that's primarily supposed to be about Superman.
Well, no, I'm not saying like a full-blown casting her as like a main character, but I think it would be neat if she was just kind of like a small glimpse into, even if it's just like a small glimpse into her origin as a character, and it's not like full-blown Harley Quinn, but maybe like some kind of preemptive, just something to introduce, because she's not in any movies. She's never been, you know what I mean? And granted, she's one of the newer one of the newer characters, I guess, in the Batman series, but she's definitely picking up a ton of popularity. I mean, she was in, I think, all 3 of the Arkham video games, which is what a lot of the younger comic book fans can identify with, is the video games more than the comic books, for sure.
Well, the animated series. I mean,
and then you've got the animated series, and then on top of that, she's now got her own comic book title. So, I mean, I think that getting her in, I think that it would be nice to have them break her into it. Just kind of like a little peek at, hey, this is Harley Quinn, however they want to do it. I'm sure that, obviously they're far more brilliant about this stuff than I am, but I just think it would be neat, because then it would open up a lot of avenues for future Batman titles to use different villains than what we've seen.
The animated series was actually where Harley Quinn got her start. She was an original character for the cartoon, and then she was so popular that they decided to write her into the comics and give her an origin. Mm-hmm. I had actually heard a couple places that the Superman Batman movie is supposed to be primarily a Superman movie with Batman as an adversary, and so there might be some of these other tangential characters. But I had heard a lot of people theorizing that Wonder Woman's part in this, was going to be almost an introductory sort of thing, much like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Something kind of like that for Harley Quinn too, where it's
Where
just
they
like
where they basically have a cameo to set it up and introduce the character,
Yeah,
so you
that's-
they get some screen time. You're familiar with them, you see them. You don't necessarily need to do a full origin
Right,
origin story for
right.
them in their own movie, But then later on, you can
Breaks
actually
them
use
into
them
it.
as a main character. So it would be really interesting to see how DC manages to do that. But there's a Flash miniseries that I believe is coming up.
Oh, it's a
maybe-
full-fledged TV show.
Right, but
fall, yeah.
I thought it was only going to be like a limited run, though. It wasn't going to be like a full.
No,
like,
it's going to be like the Arrow.
Yeah,
They're right
but
now
Really?
in season 4, and
Warner
there's
Brother-
possible for increase for it.
Warner Brothers and DC have said previously that their TV and their movie, shows, they're separate entities. They don't have anything to do with each other. So you could have a Flash on TV, basically what they're saying, and a whole different Flash in the
an
movies.
entirely
See, that surprises me because I assumed that they were trying to use their TV properties to try and gain some familiarity for a couple of the characters so that they could then
should've.
make cameos
Well-
in the movie universe and not have to spend so much time introducing them all. And that way they can do their big Justice League movie.
I mean,
you
they
know.
could still do that, but then you have two different actors and people get confused. But I guess you could still do that in a weird way.
I would love to see, like, with the Justice League, like, them throw just a huge wrench with that Wally West is coming back in April. Them just go ahead and say, okay, Barry Allen's got the TV show, the Justice League will make the Flash Wally West. And then there you go. That would be
That's
something really
interesting.
cool to
That's
see.
an interesting thing.
Yeah, then you could have, both the cinematic universe and the TV one be the same, and they're just basically different iterations of the character. And you can have separate actors, and it works just fine.
I think that the
Exactly.
TV shows are not so much like to introduce you to the characters and get familiarized with the characters, and this actor will play this person, and you can to build that identification relationship or whatever, but more along the lines of like drumming up interest, in the comic book genre, like showing people that might not be willing to, that aren't into comic books like we are, and might not be willing to go and spend their hard-earned money on a $15 movie ticket because the shit's ridiculous. I mean, to go to the movies for two people is, you're looking at $40-50. Like,
Just don't feed your girlfriend.
just don't feel. So I
Now
mean,
you got to get the popcorn because you got to do the popcorn trip where you cut
Oh,
a hole in the
God.
bottom and
yeah,
butt.
pirate would do that. But my point is, like, there are people out there that, maybe if they're on a limited budget or whatever, like myself, for example, like I don't go to see a lot of movies at the theater. I usually will wait for them to come out to DVD. But for people that are kind of on the fence
But people
about
have
it,
lots of lawn care to do.
yeah, fuck you. At least I have a lawn to care for. Anyway.
True. I haven't. Never mind.
Anyway, back to what I was saying is I think that it is to give them a taste of what comic book stories and all of that can be, so that they can see that it's something that they can relate with and something that they can enjoy, and that it is worth going to the movie and seeing the movie or purchasing the Blu-ray or whatever. And I think we're gonna see the Arrow and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think, have done a really fantastic job. The Flash is going to be coming out. I think we're going to see a lot more surgence of comic book related television shows. And I think in turn, you're going to see a lot more of the big comic book title movies, the big blockbusters, just absolutely shattering ticket sales records across the board, because they're really playing it smart to get, it's like a grassroots campaign almost for selling the idea of comic books to people that have no idea what comic books are.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it has done.
So,
And then now people, with each movie and stuff coming out, now people are going back, hunting down the older issues of first appearances and
Right.
stuff like that, and storylines, and making that profitable for people who are selling them.
that's it.
And
So
then you got the shops, the cutthroat shops selling those comics
Yeah.
at twice the price of what they was, 6 months before they announced a movie was getting ready to come out.
that is
I mean-
exactly
So-
it.
And back to the whole Harley Quinn thing you were talking about her in movies. If they got a really good Joker and they introduced a really good actor to play Joker and they introduced him into the movies and then the movie Batman throws him in jail, you could make a Joker movie and have Harley Quinn in there and introduce her.
Yeah, it
and
could
then
be. It
step
could at that
forward.
point. It could almost be a movie completely without Batman. It could be a Batman universe movie without Batman, which I would personally watch that. Like you do
I
a
don't
little.
see that going very far, like overall. Though.
I could
Well,
definitely
like,
see
comic
it.
book enthusiasts. Yes,
I could
see it,
definitely see this
but I
being
don't see it.
sellable.
I don't see it going as like it is not going to be no Iron Man status. It is not going to be no Batman.
Oh, probably
status.
not. But
But
Sony's
It'll
trying to
never
do
make the
that
sales.
with the Sinister Six and Venom also with standalone
Yeah,
movies.
I've seen the Venom, and I heard that the Venom is not going to be alien-based suit.
Well, in the Ultimate Universe in Marvel, and the Venom suit was made by Peter's father, and it was supposed to be a cure for cancer.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be a cool storyline to tie in then.
I have to go.
If
I
they-
have
if
to go
they
back
do that.
to. I have to go back and talk about this Joker movie because I respectfully disagree with Pirate. I think that this would do well. I think that there have been enough generations now that have been exposed to Batman, and when you think about Batman, the first thing that you think about after you think about Batman is the Joker. That's
Okay.
pretty much
I agree with that.
automatic.
You know what?
across the board.
I'm standing on both your sides. I think it all depends on who's playing the Joker and how good his portrayal of the Joker is. Because, I mean, you had two great actors already portray the Joker in two amazing ways. So being a third actor trying to play the Joker, you have to, you
Well, I'm
gotta
thinking-
light up that fire.
What I'm thinking
There's
is
been
you don't
three-
even
there's been
necessarily
three
have
amazing
to like focus on
done.
Joker as the the main character, but like we were talking about Harley Quinn. So you set it up and you introduce the Joker in a Batman movie, and at the end of the Batman movie he gets locked up, which is fairly common in the Batman universe. He gets locked up, and during the course of that movie somehow you have a cameo introducing Harley Quinn. And then you have this Joker movie where the focal point centric character is going to be Harley Quinn, maybe working with other villains or whatever to try and devise a way to get Joker out. So
It's
you've got Joker
an
in these
easy
side
setup.
scenes and stuff like that.
mean-
But I think it could be very extremely interesting.
It would be a very easy way to set that up. I mean, Harley Quintet, she was Joker's therapist in Arkham Asylum.
Right.
So he gets locked, goes to Arkham Asylum, and she becomes his therapist, busts him out, whatever.
I mean, you don't
That's
even
an
have to
easy
do it.
setup.
You don't even have to do an origin like that. I mean, it could be later, well after their relationship has been established and things like that. I mean, where she's just flat out trying to break him out of prison, to give it like an action movie twist.
I think if you're going to do it that route, you should do the origin route, because to me the origin route of that is just way better.
Well, I mean,
Especially if you're going to do a movie, because you're introducing a character to a movie aspect that has not been. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, this is just Joker's girlfriend. She's busting them out, and she's crazy. But if you go into that whole like origin, or at least some level of origin, whether it be in another Batman movie towards the end where it introduces her as a therapist, and then all of a sudden come next movie, then she's busting them out, and there's all this shit. That would be cool.
Well, you could
Yeah,
even you could even start the movie off with a quick rundown of how they met and stuff like that. Like they do in some movies.
Yeah,
like
just like a quick
every
forward.
first Batman movie they show quickly, his parents dying and that stuff. I mean, you could do that
just like a
and then get
flashback or
into
something.
and then get into the whole relationship between them.
My ultimate
You know what,
point is,
though?
I think
Like,
that it could be really good. I think it could sell well if it was pitched right and it was, they cast like
Accurate.
Brian said, they cast
Yeah.
the right Joker, they cast the right Harley Quinn to complement that Joker character. I think that they could play off of each other. Very, it could be a very, very it might not do great on opening day, but I think that obviously comic book fans worldwide would go and see something like that, and word would get out with the power of the internet being what it is today. You know, I think the subsequent sales would be what would drive this. Now, do I think it's going to be like, you know, like you said, an Avengers movie or an Iron Man, you know, blockbuster hit? You know, it's probably not going to be a record-setting movie in my opinion,
See,
but
But it'll be
What-
better than
what-
Daredevil.
yeah.
What you just said, though,
You know-
Fox, what you just said, though, it's not. You said it. You don't think it'll do well on opening sales.
And that's
That's
the
what
thing.
that's what movies are made and based upon. Like
You know-
they don't give a budget for anything they don't think is going to be. If they're going to do that, they might as well just do another DC animated movie. Which
Marvel has
DC's
said-
animated movies are awesome.
Marvel has said before that, you know, in their dreams, the best possible case, they would love to have every single one of their characters end up having a movie, you know, that's a, you know, feature release in theaters, you know, but the problem is it's just not realistic, and it comes down to how well it's going to do at the box office and an opportunity cost. You know, they only have so many people, they can only have so many resources, they can only make so many movies. So it comes down to, you know, like, which movie are we going to choose? If we're putting all our eggs in a basket here, which is it going to be over the course of the next few years?
Fair enough.
And I think like, you know, there hasn't been, you know, Superman's finally gaining some ground. They're bringing in a new Batman. You know, like Wonder Woman has just been cast. You know, there's so many potential for all these big name characters that I don't feel like they've necessarily feel that they've tapped the existing potential of all their biggest name characters to be able to devote so much attention to Harley Quinn, who, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we all love her, but she's sort of a B-list character.
She's B-list. Yeah, she's definitely B-list. And
So,
you know,
like,
I mean,
I'm holding out hope, and it would be awesome. You know, let's do a Suicide Squad movie. Let's get her introduced and bring her in with the Joker. And you know, when Ben Affleck invariably gets his you know, individual movie deal for his own Batman franchise, you know, then I would love to see her in it.
Mhm.
But you know, like I don't think it's a possibility right now on the, you know,
Right.
at the current time.
So Brian, what else is new this week?
Well, another big thing that 2015's Marvel's Ant-Man movie was Michael Douglas was just cast as Hank Pym.
Thoughts?
Oh, I think it's
oral
horrible.
sex gives you mouth cancer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're making what it's rumored they're doing is they're making Hank Pym in the 60s with the whole Cold War stuff. I think they said, but they're making him. He was a government agent with the Pym particles he created to
Right.
spy on Russia and stuff like that. And Paul Rudd's character is ultimately going to be the Scott Lang character,
Mhm.
the Scott Lang Ant-Man. And you know, they're saying all this stuff like, you know, the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne's going to end up being Hank Pym's daughter instead of his girlfriend,
It's
What?
creepy.
and like yeah, and you'll see two villains. One villain, I think, Michael Pena. I forgot what movie he was in. He's in a bunch of stuff, but he's gonna be like the '60s villain to Michael Douglas's Hank Pym, and there'll be another villain cast for Paul Rudd. So basically, what they're doing is, it seems like they're taking the storyline to steal an Ant-Man, I think it's called, when Scott Lang stole, you know, the suit and the Pym particles from Hank Pym, but they're kind of construing it to Hank Pym's going to be an 80-year-old dude now,
I
which
don't-
I don't like.
I don't like this at all. I really,
No.
I'm not digging. I mean, okay, what I don't like most about what you just said was the skewing of the story and you know, making the Wasp Hank Pym's daughter instead of his
Yeah.
girlfriend, which is
Welcome
just
to Hollywood.
weird. I mean, by any standard, to any comic book advocate, you know, anybody that's a legitimate fan of comic books and has read any kind of Ant-Man or Avengers or even Incredible Hulk, Tales to Astonish, the old stuff, it's pretty weird. Like, to think about the Wasp as Hank Pym's daughter, and I just don't know, but I have to.
What's
I
really
have
going to be
s-
awkward is when this movie gets some people into the character of Hank Pym and Ant Man,
And then
and
they
they
go
to
and
the
read and
comics,
find it like
and they see
what?
them sleeping together, and they're like, "Oh my God, what are you doing to our children?"
Yeah, that I could see that happening too. But as far as Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, I mean, Michael Douglas is not a bad actor. He's not.
He was
I think that
great in Romancing Stone.
I think he could do it. I mean, I think he could definitely pull it off, but I think he's pretty old, and I just don't know about. I just don't know. I don't know about the storyline. I guess we'll have to kind of wait for more details. You know, that's pretty far out, isn't it, Brian? That's
Yeah, that's 2015. I think it's coming out the
2015 spring.
tail end. It's the first
Oh, I thought
movie
it was
to start Phase 3.
Yeah, it's Age
But
of Ultron's
Age of Ultron's-
July, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
Ant-Man's August 1st.
okay.
So it's like right after that, like the following week or two.
I love Michael Douglas as an actor. I think he's a great actor. He's been in a ton of awesome stuff. The Game is still one of my favorite, little cult movie kind of things. But I just have a really hard time seeing him as a scientist. It's not even the old thing that gets me, because we've known for a while that they were probably going to do Scott Lang as the modern day, and Hank Pym was going to be an older, Hank Pym, originator of Ant-Man from back in the 50s or 60s. But so the aged thing doesn't really bother me that much, but he just doesn't. I mean, Hank Pym is one of the smartest characters in the Marvel universe, and Michael Douglas never just gave me that super genius vibe.
No, he's that
Businessman,
sadistic businessman type character. Yeah.
cutthroat, do what it's got to do, do what it takes to succeed type of businessman is the vibe I get.
Every time I think of him, I think of the movie Falling Down. That's the only movie I need to worry about when it comes to him. Just mental breakdown. Other than that, that's the most intense thing I can pull from him.
So is that pretty much cover it for the big news for the week, Brian, or have you got some more big hitters for us?
Dude,
Well,
Lady Sif. Oh, never mind.
yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be on TV part. But
Yeah. Lady Sif is going to be on episode 15. That's
Michael Douglas falling down. There you go.
I have my copy in the other room.
So
There've
Lady
been-
Sif.
Lady Sif is going to be on episode 15 of this season's
Shield, Agents of
Shield. But another weird casting rumor is that either what's the guy from Mad Men? Michael Hamm?
Okay.
Is that his real name?
Man, I honestly don't know.
I don't
Sounds
hear
familiar.
You're telling this story. Not very well.
No,
either,
John
at this
Hamm.
point.
John Hamm, either John Hamm or fuck, my brain just went.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Depp will play Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, Doctor Strange,
I
right?
haven't heard
Johnny
that.
Depp is potentially Doctor Strange. What I'm going to chime in first here because I probably have an unpopular opinion here, and I'll let you guys all just rip me apart on this probably, but whatever. I mean, what else is new? So,
If
Johnny
not that,
Depp-
we'd find something.
right, Johnny Depp as Doctor Strange. I think Johnny Depp is a phenomenal actor. I think he really pulls off whatever role he is cast in to a T. I think he's a great actor. Has he been in some shitty movies? Absolutely. Absolutely. Has he kind of worked himself into a, typecast type of situation because of Pirates of the Caribbean and its unbelievable success? Yeah, when people see Johnny Depp now, they think Pirates of the Caribbean. I get that. I do get that, but I don't think that means that he couldn't do an incredible job as Doctor Strange. I mean, one of the big roles that kind of sticks out to me and maybe it's just because I love the movie so much, but is The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp in it is a phenomenal movie in my opinion, and he plays like a sleazy book dealer that's willing to cutthroat, rip people off and everything like that. That's looking into a demonic basically a book that's supposedly written, or some art in a book
By the
that's,
devil himself.
that's the artwork was done by the devil
But
himself. And
The problem with that movie, in comparison to like his acting, is there was right after that movie or right before it, there was a Secret Window, which he played the exact same character. Like to this
Right.
day, I get scenes mixed up between the two movies.
right, I don't
Because he
disagree
gets-
with you, but he played that
character
character very well.
That he plays that character every time for the following movie. So depending on what movie he ends up playing in before he plays Doctor Strange, he's going to be that exact same character.
See,
I don't
I,
think
problem
I
with
don't
Johnny
think
Depp.
I don't think that that's Johnny Depp. I think that that's just simply the fact that he got cast on a movie that they wrote the character. I mean, the character's written way in advance to the movie, even being cast. So I don't think that's necessarily a fault.
Characters have a lot of like say in how the character's played, especially when you're in a status of like you've done as many movies as Johnny Depp. He's got a lot of free reign to go in and do what he wants and how his perception of script reading is.
yeah,
mean,
sometimes
I get that.
screenwriters will, craft a script, targeting a particular actor, for the role.
Right.
And even once an actor comes on board, they can sometimes do rewrites, like, oh yeah, we need to write it more for this guy. But my personal
Will Smith's
opinion,
a prime example.
yeah, my personal opinion, I think Johnny Depp would be great as Doctor Strange. I mean, Doctor Strange is like, a regular guy. He was an intelligent guy. He was a surgeon who suddenly gets all these mystical powers and has a very kind of almost arrogant, imperious, sort of out there, not of this earth kind of feel to it. And I think that kind of describes Johnny Depp's acting to a T.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
he's never but
he's-
Doctor Strange is never clueless. And that's what Johnny
He's not clueless, but, well,
and that's where I get from Johnny Depp.
Doctor Strange is never
clueless.
I
He's
mean,
never looking for his rum. Also,
You're only getting the clueless feeling from Johnny
Yeah,
Depp. Though.
that's another one idea.
You're only
but
getting
but
the
those
Johnny
characters,
Right, yeah, because
those
that's who would be
characters
acting
were
it.
those characters were written to be clueless, and he did
That's
them
what
as
I'm saying.
clueless very well. But that doesn't mean. I mean, Johnny Depp is a great actor, and if they wrote another part for him that wasn't clueless, I personally don't think he'd have any problem playing a
Pulling it
not
off.
clueless character.
Exactly.
You know what? I agree with that, but I would rather know what premise he was cast upon. You know what I mean? If he's cast upon as like, here's the character you need to play, and he agrees
Do you
to
really
play
need
it,
to? Do you really need to know that to be able to enjoy a movie, though?
I would like to know that, to know why if I'm
But-
gonna enjoy
but
it
is
or
it-
not. Because if I watch and expect to see Doctor Strange, and then I end up seeing fucking the guy from what is it, the Rum Diaries, and he's like the same acting, which was Johnny Depp's last movie he did was the Rum Diaries.
I think so.
Okay, if I see that guy in the following movie that is Doctor Strange, I'm gonna be pissed. Straight up.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie. There's no way around it.
You want to know why he was cast, but if you gave me the character of Doctor Strange and said, cast this part, give me an actor, and you gave me a list of a bunch of names from Hollywood, like, I'm not going to lie, if Johnny Depp's name was on that list, I would give it serious consideration. I would look at that and say, oh, that actually I think could be a really good fit. So it's not necessarily a case of, oh, we're casting him because we want somebody to play a dopey part or we want somebody to be out of it and drunk half the time. No, I think it's like this part seems to work for him, and I think that he could pull off the character of Doctor Strange.
My favorite movie he's ever did was Todd Sweeney, like the one where he did that because he actually acted in that movie, unlike anything he'd ever done before. You know what I mean? But then all the movies following that were nothing like that acting.
Well,
And
that's
it was,
that's the role.
to me, that was-
that's the role. He's going to
But it
act
wasn't-
to
it
the
was-
role.
Never mind. You'll argue it. It's fine.
well, that's what we have this
Like I
podcast for, to argue with each other.
Well,
No,
I think we can all
all
agree
I'm
that
saying is
Pirates
if
is just
Doctor
wrong.
Strange-
So.
I'm right.
All right.
Shut your mouth.
Okay, so let's move on. We'll agree to disagree on
Oh, shit.
the the Johnny Depp as Doctor Strange, and we'll just have to we'll do a group movie review if that ever comes to fruition.
My
I just wanna
biggest
know-
concern My biggest concern with Johnny Depp in that role is if he's going to become like, if it's a one-shot thing, or whether that character is supposed to grow into the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe and whether it appear in other things. Because my biggest concern is Johnny Depp is a big name, and while he's known for doing some series like Pirates of the Caribbean, which is owned by Disney, which is part of Marvel now, so. So maybe that's a good thing. But, the question is whether he wants to stay on. Oftentimes, these big-name actors, they do one of these, and they're like, okay, I played that character,
something else.
I don't want to do this for the rest of my life sort of deal.
Right.
Chris
And
Evans.
so, my biggest
I was gonna
concern...
say, Chris Evans played 3 DC characters.
Yeah,
and he's still
my
not
biggest
happy
concern
with
with Johnny Depp is whether he would actually want to stick with it and remain in the part for however many movies that they deem that they want to have that character appear in.
I agree. That could be devastating because, in my opinion, again, I think that he will do a good job. I think he would be a really, really engaging Doctor Strange, getting you to want to know more about the character and potentially buy the comics and read them and all that stuff. And that could be
Fox,
catastrophic.
do you want to know about the character already?
What?
Do you want to know about the character already?
It doesn't matter what I say. You're going to hate on my opinion. So.
No. Does the news? No, you're not hearing the point. The point of what I'm saying is, okay, Johnny Depp made news. Doctor Strange. How many people out there that know of Johnny Depp and don't know who Doctor Strange are? They're going to who's Doctor Strange? Like, obviously, from the comic world, but people who's not in the comic world know who Johnny Depp is. So they hear in E! News Entertainment, Marvel's Doctor Strange. They're already like, who is this guy? So they're already looking for research on who's he going to play. They don't know anything about a movie, So that's my point. Is it's already stirred up enough to say where a lot of people who don't know who, Doctor Strange is.
It doesn't get me interested enough to go out and buy something or comics or whatever. I mean, maybe to do
some people who are Johnny Depp fans,
but
which could lead into comic sales.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, you put a big name out there.
I just want to know why we all have giant knives next to each other. Next to us.
I always have one in my pocket.
I don't know. That's kind of scary. So, Brian, what else do we have in the news this week?
I think that's it for this week. I think those are all the
biggest bombshells.
The big.
So,
got a couple if you want.
Wow.
I want to jump over. Actually, I want to jump over and talk real quick about Arrow.
Okay then.
Because this is kind of sorry to cut you off, Topher. I'm sorry. But I want to make sure we cover this week because it just happened this week. And it was the return of the season The Arrow, which I am now a huge fan of. Pirate got me into it. Watched the episode with Pirate. I loved the episode. What was your thoughts, Pirate?
I liked it a lot. I mean, I just watched it the one time over at your house the other night when we was island the beers.
Making out.
Yeah, making out. Yeah.
Doing some tongue kissing.
But I like the fact that how Roy Harper is going through these changes and they're trying to portray him.
So he's hitting puberty.
His voice is cracking. He's growing hair in funny places, regenerating really fast. The normal stuff that every 13-year-old boy goes through. But, it was really cool, like the whole lighting fixture falling on his back and him just, saving Mora and just, shrugging it off like nothing happened. And
spoilers, by the way.
Spoiler.
Fuck your ears, everyone who ain't watched it, But, I enjoyed it. I'm really interested to see. I was seeing some previews for next week where they showed hints of Deathstroke's get up.
Yeah. Oh, he looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of touching myself in funny places, just waiting for that one. But
God, kind of stupid.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Let's be honest, that's better than some of the things he's jerked off to.
Yes. TrainyGranny.com was really bad choice. No, I never. I'm just saying. But
Brian, did you see the?
But you know that it exists.
Yeah, I thought it was a great episode. It set up the back half of everything that's going on. It set up the character of, the conflict between Brother Blood and, Oliver. Mm-hmm. It set up basically, this like what this half is I think is gonna be about. I mean, instead you're gonna have cameos from Black Canary again,
Yeah.
and not Talia, but Nisa Al Ghul, who was like mentioned in the comics for like maybe 5 minutes.
Who?
Nisa Al Ghul.
Who?
Yeah.
Nisa.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but surprisingly, just like the rest of the cast, that this whoever's playing this other Al Ghul is gonna be a chick from Spartacus, which we had already 3 people on the TV show that was from Spartacus, including Slade himself.
Wait, who was the other two? Because I'm a huge Spartacus fan.
Slade is Crixus.
Uh-huh. Right, I know that. But who's the other
Amanda
two?
Waller was Crixus's girlfriend.
Yeah, she was the yeah.
Oh, she was the other.
She was the second
she was
actress
the
that
slave,
played her.
Neva, yeah.
And the actress who played Spartacus' girlfriend in season 2, the beginning of season 2, who gets it at the end, spoiler alert, is who's playing Nisa Al Ghul.
Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
I think she played Mia or something.
Wait, Crixus's girl. She was like it was Nevia. She was black.
Yeah, she played that actress played Amanda Waller on the first half of this season.
Pirate looks confused.
Oh, never mind. I know where you're at now. So I was like looking like, wait a minute, hold on.
Now, are you guys as
Okay.
disappointed with the fact that I like how they did it? Okay, don't get me wrong. I like how they the whole Barry Allen like lead up to the Flash and like the event happened at the last episode before the break where he gets struck by lightning and everything, and they did it in a tasteful manner where they're not gonna just like show the Flash. They've got him in a coma or whatever, like off in Central City.
Yeah,
Crystal City, something I can't remember the exact title, but
Where the Flash is
Central
from,
City.
Central City, yeah. So, but it's kind of a letdown that they didn't at least, or they're even not going to. I think as far as what they've said, that they're not going to have him in the show before the Flash show comes out. I really think that they should give
They
you
were
a
going
little
to,
bit. Yeah, I think they should.
but
give
they
you a
canned
little
it.
bit. I think they should do that. I really think that not
I think
not
that
only will
they
that
shouldn't-
make the Arrow people happy because they get to see that, but it'll potentially generate more interest in the show, The Flash.
I think there should be a slight piece where maybe like you don't really see him fully, but you just a little tease to where it leads you in to like want to know what's going on. But I think if you introduce him as the Flash, there's too much expectation for collaboration of hero type thing, or
I mean,
I
it pretty
think they
much
need to
has
stay
to
away
be
from
now.
that.
It pretty much now it pretty much
It
like
do-
because
it
you can't
doesn't-
just start the
it doesn't have
Flash
to
and not
be.
even reference Felicity Smoke. You can't not reference
But you can have
Arrow,
Felicity
all
Smoke
that.
in the Flash. You
So
can
right
have
there,
Felicity
you're
Smoke
going
in
to
the
have
Flash, but you can't have the Arrow.
Well, you can't have Felicity Smoke without mentioning the Arrow. You can't.
Why?
She's
If
too.
anybody- you
She's
don't-
too.
some
She's too
blonde
well
shows up,
established as
some
a.
blonde-
No, she's too
But if
well
you've never
established as a
watched The
character now
Arrow-
in the Arrow, and the fact that she's
But
basically
it's
a love interest
easier
in
to
the
hide
Arrow.
some blonde chick show up. It's way easier to hide a random blonde chick, nerdy blonde chick in glasses show up in a TV show than it is for a green hooded vigilante with grease paint on his eyes.
So do they? So do
He
they?
has
a mask
do they
now.
do
He has a
away?
mask now.
So
oh
do
yeah,
they,
he has the mask now.
do they do away completely then with the whole like love tension or whatever relationship tension between Felicity
they
Smoke
don't-
and Barry Allen?
No,
Because
they're-
the
they
reason
don't
that
have to.
stopped, is because of Oliver Queen.
It stopped
They-
because he's in a coma.
No,
It's hard. It's hard to go on dates with
They
somebody. when
probably
they're
won't
passed
because
out.
they'll have the character of Iris West in The Flash, which is his girlfriend in the comics, or
Mhm.
wife.
I don't know.
That is true.
I think that now they're going to have to do some form of crossover.
No, they'll do a
it's gonna be-
crossover.
Otherwise,
They'll
it's
do
going
it.
to be. It's not like then there's if they don't do a crossover now, there was absolutely 0 point in putting Barry Allen into the Arrow and then generating
because the
subsequently
pot-
generating a TV series with the same actor on the same character.
And
Like,
that's
there's-
why they
it's
scrapped
completely-
the pilot that was gonna. That's why they scrapped the other issue. He was supposed to be in 2 episodes. Well, 2.
3.
The last 2 was 1 episode because it was 2-part. The 3 episodes technically with him showing up in the 3rd episode was going to be him as the Flash, but they scrapped it with Arrow to use as the pilot for the Flash this fall. So
I think Topher is bored. He's showing us his cats,
Stop flashing your pussy on the screen.
which are filthy animals, by the way.
So what I've gotten out of this entire conversation is I apparently need to go back and watch every episode of Green
No,
Arrow
you do-
so that I
you
can
should.
participate in this conversation.
Because if you don't, we're going to ruin it for you over and over and over.
When I
again.
first
much.
started
Yeah.
watching Arrow,
I've been
I
trying to
didn't
get
like
you to
it.
watch that for months now.
No,
And
I
it's
know,
like, dude.
and I want to. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
All right. Well, I think
Stop
we
watching your
are
cat and watch Arrow.
we're right at the hour mark, so we're going to call that a episode of the Comic Book Nerd Nation. If you guys are not already a fan or whatever, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Comic Book Nerd Nation. Again, episodes every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on New Comic Book
On
Day
YouTube.
and on YouTube. YouTube.com/Fox2, PHOXXTWO. We really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys stay tuned for more comic book news, nerdy goodness, and special guests coming. All kinds of good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out. This is Fox2. I got the Pirate,
Yeah, see you guys.
Topher,
Peace.
and Brian.
Pew pew.
All right, we'll see you guys later.